Greetings everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather, whether you're viewing it on YouTube or on BitChute or on Twitch. We are streaming live to Twitch. Please take a moment to press like and subscribe as we get to the Daily Space Weather. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the local yellow dwarf here in 193 angstroms. Here's a 48-hour video of it, or perhaps you'd refer to the sun as a her. There's 48 hours. Big coronal holes there associated with the South Polar region, stretching all the way up to the equator, as well as some big coronal holes near the North Pole. And we see some increase in geomagnetic activity, possible sunspot rising in the southeast. That active region in the north is not a sunspot, but down here we may see one emerging now from the southeast. This one up here, did I say northeast? I meant northwest. That is not a sunspot, and we see no sunspots. Let's get to some more stuff. And it looks like there's a coronal mass ejection coming out of the western limb here. And this is not complete yet. You can see this area on the west. Little bit of ejecta look like it's coming out there. And we're going to explain a little tiny tidbit about the ejecta a little later in the video. Here's the C3, a zoomed out view of the same basic area. And no Earth-facing coronal mass ejections happening right now. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on BitChute, as we are locked and loaded over there. And there is exclusive content. Look for more exclusive content coming soon. Thanks for everybody who has subscribed over there, as we're getting an extraordinarily large number of views, especially in proportion to the tiny number on YouTube. Next, we're going to look at the fields here. There's the 171 angstroms. There's the fade to the magnetic fields. And you can see that bright region down there in the southeast. And here's the fade out to 304 angstroms. And you can see some filaments down there. We didn't really take any custom videos of that. We did take some in 171 angstroms. And you can see that active region there. Not exactly sure how strong that is. Could be a sunspot already. So that's something to keep an eye on. That's something to keep a proton on. And we are broadcasting once again from the bunker. Can you hear the rumble of the bunker? Oh yes. Where that comes from is classified. Here's the active region, and we still do see some X-ray coming out of it. And we did have our largest X-ray flare of the entire year yesterday. It was somewhere around B5 class. So that's the most active region we've seen there, when it was a sunspot, especially on the sun all year. And it's a good view in 304 angstroms there. And next we've got the 171 angstroms view of the same area. And you'll see a little bit of a flux rope plasma exchange going on there. And probably where the ejecta is coming from. I don't know why it's not looping. There we go. I'll let that play through a second time there for you. And that's probably the source of that coronal mass ejection that we're seeing. And it may be in the process of releasing now. So here's the full disk view in 304 angstroms. And perhaps later in the day we'll make some custom videos of that rising active region. Lots of plasma filaments all around the limb. So there's definitely some activity going on. And for that, we thank you. Please leave a comment if you have a message for the sun. Perhaps we'll put it on tomorrow's video. KP index is currently at 3. So close to geomagnetic unrest conditions here. 10.7 centimeter radial flux at 70. Comet Atlas is breaking up. It's even more obvious now. And it's disappointing a lot of people and disappointing a lot of alarmists on YouTube. If you want to read about it, there's a link to the article on spaceweather.com. Next, we'll look at where the things are. Where are things right now in the solar system? Well, that's where things are now. And there's where they'll be in 1 week. Did you enjoy the supermoon? The April full moon this year was the brightest full moon of the entire year. Anyway, there's where things will be. And we've got more scary shapes here. We've got a isosceles triangle here forming between Mercury, Venus, and Earth. And it looks way too much like a Dorito to not freak me out. Oh my God. Oh my God! Next we're going to look at a star chart. And Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars have been rising simultaneously. Not simultaneously, but in succession as the moon is trying to set. And if you've got a low horizon or clear skies, unlike me, which I don't have clear skies, it's 4:20. Do you know where your medicine is? Next, we're going to look at the GOES X-ray flux. And we see that dropping off as that former sunspot 2759 sets. Another possible candidate rises. So proton flux remains flatlined, and we'll expect to see some spikes in this as we go to solar maximum during this cycle 25, a daily, a space weather. And we see the BTBZ are currently in the state of flux, shifting around. Phi angle has just hit about 180 degrees there, so we may have a significant coronal hole magnetic connection here. Wouldn't be surprising, as we see lots of coronal holes right in the Earth-facing region. Solar wind density up to 12.9 protons, per cubic centimeter, and solar wind speed up to 375 kilometers a second. Slightly ramping up. And ACE looks like it's sending back better data now. I don't know why it was so flatlined, showing us below 1 proton per cubic centimeter and then rising back up as if it hadn't been sending bad data. You can see the speed was all over the place yesterday, as well as the density super low, and now it's up into a more normal range here. And next we'll look at the geospace magnetosphere movie, looking at the pressure. And if you want to look at this stuff yourself, there's also the velocity and the density. But there's the pressure, and we've got multiple double layers here. This is kind of a pattern that we haven't seen before. That pattern right there, that's chiefly magnetic activity there. That's not entirely induced just by the solar wind density plus the solar wind speed. And I won't get it super into magnetohydrodynamics here, as this is the daily space weather. Here is the ground geospace magnetic perturbation map, and you can see significant magnetic perturbations. Evidence of the South Pole creeping into the southern Indian Ocean. Evidence of 2 North Poles, one over Canada, one over Siberia. And that's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. GOES magnetometers is extremely spiky right now. And we still don't see the GOES 15 back online, or perhaps not sending data. So that's an extreme magnetic shift there, and that's the source of the nearly geomagnetic unrest conditions that we see here on planet Earth. Please leave a comment if you're viewing from a different universe, solar system, timeline, multiverse, spacecraft, star system, galaxy, etc. We'll be interested in what you have to say about cosmology. And now we're looking at the Gong 2 data. It's the top view ecliptic plane field plot, and the current sheet is entirely charged by the South Pole, shown here in red. Next we'll look at the line of sight field plot, which shows the B field, the one on which we live, in blue. And not a lot of effect on that field right now by this rising region down here in the southeast. And if you don't see this move around, it's a good indication that it is not a sunspot or particularly powerful. But keep an eye on it anyway, if you like. Relativistic electrons appear to be in a moderate range, and the lower energy state, the lower density electron flux returned by the GOES 16 is quite cratered. and we expect to see it continue to be cratered here, at least for the next 24 hours or so. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere. Here's 6 hours of data, and we see an extreme charge up here over the central Pacific Ocean. You'll see in this region a large area of 14 megahertz ionosphere, and that's a very large charged up blob, and then it suddenly subsides, and that's what you would expect to see when we see significant magnetic perturbations. And we won't get into the whole relationship, as a lot of this stuff is still not understood at all by mainstream science. And that's part of the reason why we have smAsho.com/forum to push the limits of scientific progress. Here's the latest image. This one coming in at 8:15 UT, and it's looking quite normal at that point. So it charged up and then it suddenly discharged. Next, we're going to look at windy.com, and we had some pretty severe thunder this morning. We're going to let that advance 24 hours via the GFS forecast to show you where things will be tomorrow at this time. How about tomorrow at noontime? There's where things will be tomorrow at noon, and if you're wondering where I'm located, it's Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Don't try to invade the bunker. You may have better results trying to rob a bank and higher survivability. Next, we'll look at the USGS earthquakes map. And we don't see anything over a 6, but we see a swarm in Idaho once again, freaking people out, prompting them to think that Yellowstone's going to erupt. Please leave a comment if you want to see Yellowstone erupt, so that Covidiots shut up about you know what. Next, we're looking at, let's see, we're just going to scroll up here. Here's a significant quake north of New Zealand. It's a 5.0 magnitude at extreme depth. There is an ocean rift zone there north of New Zealand near the plate boundary. That 5.0 magnitude quake at 425 kilometers depth. This is probably the largest of the past 24. Don't quote me on it. It's a 5.1 at the South Sandwich Islands at depth also, 97.6 kilometers. Here's another deep quake at Indonesia. That one coming in only an hour and a half after the one at South Sandwich Islands. It's a 4.6 magnitude at 140 kilometers. Here's a 4.5 at Fiji. Extreme depth, over 600 kilometers at a 4.5 magnitude. Deep quake strikes Alaska, only a 3.1 at 118 kilometers depth. And we're just scrolling on Covidiots. Scrolling on Covidiots. Here's a 5.0 at Japan, the last that we're going to cover today. It's at 103 kilometers, so a bit of a deep quake event going on, folks. And I'm here to say, ixnay on @they. Most likely, your immune system is more than capable of stomping on this. So have hope, folks. Hope reigns eternally. And Covidiots blame infernally. I believe that there is an anti-humanist agenda associated with this. I know there was a hashtag about how COVID-19 is the cure and mankind is the disease, which is a ridiculous idea. Also that it's weaponized, and I'm going to assume it's not weaponized because normally when people design weapons, they're more deadly. Just saying. Have you read about the Swiss propaganda research? Facts about COVID-19? Well, check it out. We pick up points of it on the daily. It's at smAsho.com. There is an entire forum in the free-for-all section about virus. What is Guar doing to cope with their shut-in? Well, to quote lead guitarist Pustulus Maximus, he said from his Antarctic fortress, and by the way, we're not really neighbors. We live inside Lake Vostok here at smAsho.com. And smAsho.org is also located here. Anyway, Pustulus Maximus says, I don't care. Oh, you care. Well, I mean, they're doing stuff, I guess. I think it's a very opportune time to not have to talk to anyone. The guitarist continued. Additionally, the band said that once this is over, they're looking forward to killing you up close. I mean, would you expect anything else from Gwar? Please leave a comment if you've seen Gwar live. I have, and it's just awesome. Do you have butthole recognition software? Well, there's a new toilet coming out, and I'm not kidding, folks. You see that? Letter V? That's an anus camera. I kid you not. Would you like your sphincter photographed? Would you like your fecal matter analyzed by computer code and sent to universities? Well, this smart toilet features butthole recognition, and if you want to read about it, check out smashomash.com/forums coronavirus section, and you'll find out all about it. Let's look at markets. Asia markets are mixed right now. Hang Seng is down, Nikkei's up. Let's check out Europe. European markets largely down. And we had a pretty flat day yesterday in U.S. trading. Silver now at $15.30 per ounce, rather. That's $15.30 per ounce for silver. Gold at $16.85. Oil up to $24.59. Probably an indication that the economy is starting back up again. Oh boy. Jeez, oh whiz. And it looks like we see some purchasing in U.S. bonds. As when you see lower yields in bonds, folks, that means purchasing bonds are kind of inverse of stocks. And check it out, Kohl's was up 20%. That is another great sign for the economy, as Kohl's is, while they do have an online store, which is lovely, they're also, maybe they're not going to be destroyed by this, just like you're most likely not going to be destroyed by this. So please, spike pile drive this thing. Now this is Paul Orndorff, famous pro wrestler from the 80s, who used to do this insane spike pile driver to people. This is your immune system. This is coronavirus on your immune system. Get it? Get it? Good. By the way, we're trying to get a call together with Switched to Linux today to start talking about switching to Linux and providing some computing solutions for our viewers. And apparently, maybe he likes Ubuntu better than I thought, as he put a video up yesterday about Ubuntu. I haven't watched it yet. I'll do that after I view our own video. Since I'm not only smAsho, I'm also a client, and I have to also be the editor-in-chief. Next, we'll look at the volcano rundown, which includes Mount Aso producing a 5,000-foot ash plume, Mount Takono producing a 7,000-foot ash plume as it explodes, Popocatépetl exploding also, 19,000-foot ash plume there. And here ends the Ben Shapiro fast-talking section. Fuego also exploding, 15,000-foot ash plume there. Nevado del Ruiz exploding, flight level 22,000 there. Sangay, no volcanic ash cloud observed at Sangay. Revenador exploding, flight level 16,000 there. And while we only see weak emissions of volcanic ash from Sabancaya, please don't fly your John Denver-style ultralight over the caldera. It probably will not work out well. And we're looking at the jet streams of the eastern world right now. We've got some extreme anticyclone behavior here. And extreme meridional jet stream flow. Check it out at Australia. That looks like a diagram of what we call meridional jet stream flow. Look at that. That is like a perfect example of it. You'll probably hear stories about how Antarctica's melting over here and how the Indian Ocean's freezing over here, as non-Covidiots try to convince you that carbon dioxide has anything to do with the Earth's climate. Next, we're going to look at the western jets, and there are the jet streams of the western world. We see it doubled up and bending all over the place and looking totally not like a normal jet stream. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps. Here is Africa and Europe. Afrika und Europe. Next, ja, das ist prima. We'll look at Oceania and the Far East's water maps. And next we'll look at the U.S. water vapor map, as we had a big convergence over my head when I got up this morning. If you're wondering when I get up, it's about 3 o'clock. It's part of the way that we make these videos. It's part of the strategy, folks. It's all part of the strategy as we aim to be a resource for other solar researchers. If you're watching Tamika Scove and getting 10-day-old space weather updates, I don't know what to tell you, but let's look at this convergence over Virginia as there's some compression happening. And if you're flying north to south or south to north, expect to feel some turbulence. Impress your friends, impress your foes. Predict turbulence on airline flights, since when you fly through this region, there's a lower air viscosity due to the molar mass of water than there is in this region due to the molar mass of nitrogen. Did you know? Anyway, that's what's going on over my head, and I think we may get another slight band before this heavy storm is complete. Next, we're going to look at the Doppler radar, courtesy Weather Underground, named for a terrorist organization who was bombing the U.S. from within the U.S. Anyway, that's a pretty significant storm, and check it out. It's butting up against this dry air down here, and that's why it's moving the way it is. I know it's taking an odd storm path. And next we're going to look at lightningmaps.org to see where the greatest level of activity is. And hey, Columbus, Ohio, there's thunder rolling in. Check out lightningmaps.org. I broke it out this morning as I heard thunder, and I wanted to know where the lightning was striking. Real-time lightning maps to scare the natives, impress your friends, frighten your foes. Hey, join the Smash team, folks. Have you joined? There's all kinds of links below the video. Why not click on them? Consider becoming a patron. Or, if you don't want to pay us anything, the entire month of April is free. So we put up another MP3 today. Today's was Temple Strike, an intro track for an LP that we released in the year 2000. We're also on Subscribestar, so perhaps check us out there. All the posts are public there as well, so both Patreon and Subscribestar, everything public for the entire month of April. And we expect to have our nonprofit paperwork sent in before the end of this month. If you want to stream some music, a more representative sample, we've got 15 tracks available at soundclick.com/goldencatproductions, my record label that was founded around the year 2000, probably 1999. For instance, we've played Gem Cutter many times in the space weather videos, and thanks everybody who's streaming over there, as we're seeing wild success there. Check it out. Dr. Steelshank has made it all the way up to number 26 on the chart in the instrumental rock genre. Next, we're going to look at the intensitygram of the local yellow dwarf. Some people call it the sun, which, by the way, is the Rosetta Stone for all cosmology. And this is part of the reason why we study it so in depth, as the inner workings, the makeup, what the sun is made out of, etc., is not understood by the mainstream at all. And the sun is the Rosetta Stone for the rest of cosmology. All the calculations that are made to calculate the sun's mass and stellar masses of other stars and massive radio sources at the cores of galaxies are all based on the sun's mass and the nuclear fusion dynamo model, which clearly is not what's going on here, as the sun's output looks like blackbody radiation that would emit from a metal, not the kind of spectra that come out of a gaseous plasma, which is what mainstream astronomy will tell you the sun is made out of. Sorry, it's just not observationally correct. So there's the colorized magnetogram, and check it out. We see a little bit of magnetic organization there, but the real place to watch, I believe, is down here, as this is right on the equator, probably a cycle 25 magnetic organization region. But this area down here, I'm sorry, cycle 24. All right, cycle 24, cycle 25. Because when we see new cycle behavior, it's at much higher latitudes. And if you're not familiar with the butterfly chart, look up the butterfly chart regarding sunspot behavior and you'll be able to learn all about it. And last but not least, we're going to break out the 131 angstroms view to to get a nice 48-hour video as we close things out. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please share our content on your social media. We will be eventually producing many more clips, and we'll be making these longer videos into different various clips, as well as more cosmology segments, more segments about computing. We've got all kinds of stuff in the works behind the scenes that you're probably not aware of, including our Spotlight on Female Vocalists series, which we've only done Nora Jones so far, and we've got a massive list that's constantly growing, as I can't watch a man sing a song, to quote Jerry Seinfeld. So yeah, keep an eye on that western limb of the local yellow dwarf. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back, and the Covidiots absent from your life. Remember, folks, you don't need to always do something because something happened. If you're going to do something because something happened, make sure that it's effective. Because if you do ineffective things, you're going to make a crisis worse than it already is.